Well, welcome to Noel's World of Whiskey, and been a hectic week here and trying to squeeze in these reviews. Certainly when you're working and you've got other things going on, doing a lot of cycling these days, just staying very active, trying to keep this whiskey channel going. And I am going to make an effort here to get into a review of something I've been wanting to review for several years, and long before I went to Scotland. But it's interesting because when I was in Scotland, there was a question that I wanted to ask the people at Glenfarclas, because it's always been a bit of an enigma, and it's a certain brand, a brand that they bought. And there's been reviews on this brand, and I thought, I've never got really accurate information from people doing these reviews. There was a lot of speculating, guessing, etc. So I thought, let's talk to the distillery people. Let's find out a little bit more about these brands. So, Glenfarclas is a distillery we toured. So, what is the big question I wanted to ask? Well, it has a lot to do with something I've had around for a few years, Lismore. And Lismore, and this is a 21-year-old, by the way, Lismore was bought out by G&G Grant, the owners of Glenfarclas. I think it was in 2004, somewhere around there. And there's been a lot of speculative information, people doing reviews saying, well, it's a mystery whiskey. Yeah, it could be from Glenfarclas, but then again, it could be from any of these other distilleries. Well, I'm going to answer that question eventually, but what's important is just let's get a little history on Lismore. Now, why Lismore? Why is it called Lismore? Because Lismore is an island that is actually off the coast of Oban, and basically it's at the entrance of Loch Lynn, and that's an inlet that goes up into on the west coast of Scotland. It is at the entrance of Oban, Loch Lynn, and of course the Isle of Mull. You go past the Isle of Mull, and you're going up Loch Lynn, the inlet. And there is the island of Lismore. But anyways, let's get on to what Lismore is all about. The name Lundy, of course, has been it's been in the whiskey business as a broker for generations, and they go back to 1904. But in 1932, Bobby Robert Lundy, they called him Bobby, established the whiskey brokerage of R.D. Lundy and Company. And the business was passed down through the family, the Lundy family. And William Lundy and Company was formed in the 50s. Initially it was a brokerage, but eventually they started to blend their brands, Lismore and Royal Heritage. And that company basically was sold in 2004 to G&G Grant, and we know G&G Grant is Glenfarclas. People kind of make a mystery of this company. Where was the whiskey coming from? Now, I talked to some of the distillery people, and I want to know, what whiskey is this? Now, we own this whiskey. Why would we go to other Speyside distilleries to bottle something we own? Now, my question is, well, maybe you can get it cheaper than you can make it. And there was a smile. That's what I got. So I think that was the answer. The gift. I got a 21. I got several of these, by the way. 21-year-old Glenfarclas. Before I buy another bottle, I'm going to sip on these. And what did I get from the distillery as well? Oh, we got a 21-year-old sample. in my, and I also got some distillery whiskeys here. So I'm just going to show you good old Glenfarclas distillery. And I got myself another 21-year-old there. By the way, I've got another one like this as well. I've got myself the glass here, Glenfarclas glass here. Lots of little gifts and lots of things from the distillery. So anyways, I am going to get into this review. Basically, we're going to take a look at the 21 Lismore, and we're going to put it up against the 21 Glenfarclas. Hang around. I'm going to change lenses. So I hope I kind of answered that question, because I know there's not a lot of reviews on this whiskey, and it's very vague, the source, where does the whiskey come from, etc. I think, talking to the distillery employees, I know they have to watch what comes out of their mouth. They're cautious, but they also are giving you the information. You've got to read it properly. So, my answer, to my question is, why would we be purchasing whiskey from another Speyside distillery when, this is one of our companies? We're bottling it. We're using the same recipe as the Lundy family. And again, I put it to question, the cost of them producing Glenfarclas might be a little more than some Speyside distilleries, because I really believe that there are distilleries in the Speyside that are not the quality of Glenfarclas, and they're producing whiskey at less cost. Glenfarclas has a tendency to use really good casks. They have fairly long fermentation times, distillation times. There is, I think, a formula that they've stuck to, and it does cost them more than other distilleries. But you know what? They have some of the best priced whiskeys, aged whiskeys, in the industry today. And they're a very underrated distillery, and I am a keen follower of them. And I know one of the other questions I asked was about their warehousing. They use dunnage warehousing, and dunnage warehousing definitely produces a pretty consistent whiskey, in that same warehousing was used over a century ago. There is a consistency to it. They do have rack, warehousing, which means you're piling this whiskey up quite high. The weather changes, as you get higher up, just like in places like Kentucky and Tennessee. And they have these little honey holes, because they do a lot of rack warehousing. You have different parts of that warehouse, especially the real large warehouses, where you're going to have a different whiskey over here that's aged than, let's say, a whiskey at the other end of the warehouse. And dunnage warehouses, this isn't going to change as much. And so it could be, as it was explained to me, if we're selling to a blender whiskey, we're going to sell out of the rack warehouses. We're not going to give them our good, dunnage warehouse whiskey. So, did this come from the dunnage or the rack warehouse? That question I didn't get answered, but I do know that it is owned by J&G Grant. People are going to relate to the fact that it is, the Glenfarclas whiskeys that are bottled by J&G Grant. So, they might also want to keep the quality of this whiskey up. But the Glenfarclas quality could be, and that's what we're going to find out. Maybe a notch higher? We're going to find that out. So let's get at this. Lismore 21 versus a Glenfarclas 21. And later on, I'm going to do another one of their whiskeys that we're going to go up against. So, let's open up this canister, owned by J&G Grant, which owned Glenfarclas. And I have to admit, this is one heck of a nice looking, so I got a leather finish on it. And one heck of a bottle. Now I brought up the container here just so you can get a look at it here. And just kind of get it in focus there. Let's get a 17. I don't have the old 21 kicking around here. I told you the story on that. But anyways, there's the 17. The 21 is similar to the 17. So when you look at the two, you make your choice. Which one do you prefer? I got rid of my Glenfarclas glass there, and we are going to use just the two Glencairns here, so we have the same glasses. We got to get this baby open here. Didn't even need a knife. It actually splits right open. I kind of like that. Unusual. I don't think I've had one like this before. You know, I've had corks that size, but you know, with the big topper. And I'm going to bring that bottle up so you can take a look at the color again here. So let's just look at that. And we can look at the color, and just you can kind of look right through the bottle there, probably there. So we will pour. And we are going to pour the 21 Glenfarclas, which I have had before. There we are. Okay, I'm going to bring the two of these up here. And of course we have the Glenfarclas 21 on your right, and we have the Lismore 21 on your left. And I'm going to say right away that the Lismore 21 is darker than the Glenfarclas 21. Okay, they are both sherry cask finished, and 21 years of age, and they're both at 43% ABV. Non-chill filtered, no color added. And they're both bottled by J&G Grant, the owner of Glenfarclas. Okay, let's give these guys the nose. We're just going to start off with the Lismore 21, finished in sherry hogshead. The nose. Lots of leather notes, a bit of umami, sort of a vegetal, and yes, a trifle bit of sulfur maybe. I'm not detecting any smoke like some of the other reviewers did, or Pete. We're getting the citrus berries, some malty notes. I'm going to say we've got a slight bit of wood coming through here. You know, I'm going to say the tannins. And yes, I can nose tannins. How do you like that? The citrusy stuff, by the way, is kind of, I'm going to say a bit of lemon orange, and I am getting some chocolate now. Though I'm getting spices with that chocolate. See if we can narrow those spices down. Maybe a little bit of cinnamon. You know what? Maybe even a little bit of ginger there, but give it a good nose there. It's tobacco. I'm getting some very well, there's a mustiness to it, but it's like a pipe tobacco. Anyways, I'm going to move on to the 21 Glenfarclas. I don't want to overnose one of these here. It might influence how I nose this. So let my nostrils clear a little bit. And let's get into, this is the 21-year-old Glenfarclas. It's a lighter nose right off the bat. Lighter nose than the Lismore. I am getting that leather though again. And not really noticing the oak as much. But in the background I'm definitely getting that slight tobacco note. There is some barley sugar or sweetness. We're going to say maltiness. And citrus notes again, similar to the Lismore. And a slight bit of mustiness. Back to the tobacco. So, fruity tobacco and chocolate. So they do have a similar nose, but this for some reason was a little more intense. Okay, back to the Lismore 21, the palate. Salangeva. Lots of spice. Something between the nutmeg and the tobacco. Lot of sherry in this one. Spice and sherry. I am getting some maltiness with that sherry. So there's a bit of balance of the, I'd say even a little bit of that barley sugar I talked about earlier. I am getting a bit of that, but really the sherry notes are definitely, they're overriding. The background, citrus, caramel, toffee, custard. That's the tartness, maybe lemon custard. Maybe even a lemon meringue pie. There is a slight bit of wood influence here. I'm going to say European wood because you can almost taste the tannins there. It's, we know the, American oak, like your bourbon casks finish and all that stuff. That American oak, white oak is, it doesn't have quite the spiciness. It's a little milder. It doesn't have quite the intensity in the tannins. So I'm going to say it's probably a little bit more of a European oak influence here. Raisins. And it has faded away. So, I am going to go right through with the development and the finish on this, and then I will go to the Glenfarclas 21. So, Salangeva. I'm just going to say I like this. Of all the reviews I've read, maybe I've got a really good bottle here, but I think it's balanced. I'm getting I'm definitely getting a wee bit of the oak balanced out with the sherry notes. The tobacco and the spices are not overpowering for me, for my palate. There are some similarities with the Glenfarclas. All their range, by the way, not just the 21, because I have drank the 21, the 17, the 15, the 12, and the 10. So, and the 105, and a couple from the distillery non-age statements. But this seems very much a Glenfarclas signature. And I'm being very sincere because I know a lot of the reviews prior, some of them do question whether it is Glenfarclas or not. This, to me, is a Glenfarclas. There is, I'm going to say, a little bit of Yamani stuff going on. The finish is still there. I'm going to say it's a medium-long finish, but there was some umami stuff going on. I didn't get any of the, every once in a while you'll get those sulfur notes in Glenfarclas, but didn't get the sulfur notes. But umami, yeah. The vegetable stuff just toward the end there, I got a little bit of that. So I'm gonna leave it at that. And by the way, these did sit for a half an hour, these whiskeys. So a half an hour, 21-year-old, at least a half an hour. Okay, Glenfarclas 21. Salangeva. Boy, there is similarities, that's for sure. The palates are similar. The nose was lighter on the 21, but the palate is a a little bit more intense. I am getting sherry notes, not quite as intense sherry notes as I got in the Lismore. Very balanced, a little bit of the wood, some of the malt notes. I'm gonna stay with the toffee, the caramel notes, chocolate, slight bit of tobacco, cinnamon, and umami. Not as much as here. There was a slight bit of mustiness. I remember when I brought it up to palate it. My nose got a slight bit of mustiness that I didn't get earlier. So, but they are similar. Berries, and a little bit of, I'm going to say the darker chocolate. It's a Glenfarclas, Glenfarclas 21. I can move on right now to the development and the finish. Salajava. Boy, the more I drink this, the more it's closer to the Lismore. Certainly, I'll stay with the balance of the let's say the wood, the spice, the sherry notes. It's almost perfect in the 21. The spice sort of lingers in the background. The finish is going to be similar to that, the medium long. This is a very nice drink because it's just so darn balanced. It's got a little bit of everything. The vegetal is coming through now. I'm going to say there is when I talked about the pipe tobacco and that, it's a little bit lighter in this, but the chocolate is emphasized, and there's there is probably a slight bit of sulfur, very slight bit of sulfur in this here, but I don't mind that, by the way. So overall, because I've done, I've drank a fair amount of the 21 in the past and that, and I do like the 21. I will have another bottle here. I just haven't. I'm waiting for it to go on sale because it's pricey in Canada, but it is one of my go-to whiskeys. So the whole idea behind this review was to compare these two brands that are produced by J&G Grant Glenfarclas. So, okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to add just a drop of water to these, okay? And let's just see where we end up with a drop of water. Didn't get any in there. Okay, we'll get a little swirl there. And this is the Lismore. We're going to nose it with a drop of water. Much of the same. Lots of leather. A lot of sweetness here. Barley sugar still. Malty. But the sherry is coming through. You can really get the whiff of the sherry. The sherry, the berries, wee bit of citrus, raisins, grape juice, tobacco coming through, a little bit of chocolate. Yeah. Okay. We'll continue on with the palate with water. Salajava. So, with water, there is a sweetness. The barley sugar sort of comes out. The spices are still there. So we're getting lots of spice. The oak is there too. So I am getting the oak. And I'm going to say European oak. Still have got no sulfur out of this. A lot of the reviewers mention peat. I still am not getting the peat, but maybe I've been drinking too many peated whiskeys lately. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I've been in the lighter peated stuff, and even Oban, I can taste the peat in Oban, but just not tasting it here. So, but the water doesn't hurt it, but I only put a couple of drops in there, and that's kind of what I do with 43s. But the barley sugar is there. The spices are there. I'm going to stay with the cinnamon notes. And the vegetal stuff is calmed down a little bit. Overall, a very balanced drink. It certainly is a likable dram. And I'm going to make some comments when I'm finished on the Lismore, but I want to move on. And I'm going to just clear my palate here. And we will move on to the Glenfarclas 21. And with a couple drops of water, the nose. Now for some reason the nose is a little more intense than it was before. So the water really brought out the nose. And damn it, they're just so similar, the two. I am getting, because I'm getting lots of leather, and I am getting the sherry notes now, berries, slight bit of malt going on with the barley sugar there. It's got the caramel, or we'll say the toffee notes there, a bit of custard, maybe brulee. There's some Christmas desserts going on here. Spices. We have, you can get the background, cinnamon and ginger in the background. Some oranges going on. And it's got that signature. The water brought a little more sweetness, a little bit more of the sugars and that, but it's got that Glenfarclas nose. I am going to get into the palate with water. Cilantro. Spice and oranges. I'm going to stay with the brulee. Barley sugar, tobacco notes, chocolate, and it's almost getting a little more creamy chocolate. Maybe some coffee notes. There's no vegetal stuff going on. None of the umami notes are there. But again, I get it up close to my nose. I just to do the palate on it, and I get that muskiness. So the finish on both of these is pretty good, even with water. I'm going to keep it in the medium long area. So, what's different with these two whiskeys? Price wise, we know. I paid $165. This is over $200 today in Canada, but unless you can get it on sale. The Glenfarclas 21, I bought it for around the $200 range when I purchased my last bottle. It's $250-ish plus today in Canada, and that makes a difference right there. We noticed right off the bat the nose was a little more intense. It was quite a loud nose on this, and nothing wrong with it. I found the noses were almost equally balanced in the two. I would say the palate, balanced. Yes, this was a fairly balanced whiskey, but magnificently balanced on the Glenfarclas 21. This Lismore 21, there was a lot of similarities to the Glenfarclas, and I was thinking, geez, this is a good whiskey for the money. And I was wondering where this was going, because this did start off, the 21 started off with a light nose, but as I kept progressing through the review, this gained momentum because it's just so well balanced between the you know, the sweet and the sour and the umami notes, the saltiness of it, the basically, you know, when I think of the spices balancing out the tobacco notes, the chocolate, you've got a little bit of the wood coming in, but everything is just superbly balanced. And yet, this is a pretty good follow-up. In terms of batches, could some of these reviewers, in the reviews I read, could they have got a bad batch? Yes. How consistent is the batches of Lismore? Well, this is my first bottle. If I bought another bottle down the road, maybe I would know more. But right now, this is well worth what I paid. Good God, for $150 $165, a 21-year-old, as good as this? No. In Canada? No. It's good value for your money. As we get a little higher, getting up around $250 with the Glenfarclas 21, it's still a heck of a lot less expensive than a lot of other 21s out there that I don't think are as good as the Glenfarclas 21. So that's how I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it at, I'm going to say, somewhere in the 88 range, 88, 89, and somewhere in the 89, maybe 89, 90 range is where I'm going to put these whiskeys. So that's where I'm going to leave it, you know. And on that note, I'm going to ask you to drink wisely, drink intelligently, and do not drink and drive. And until the next time, Salonjava.